To Be African by Kobi Kambon. To be African in a society / world dominated by Eurocentrism, Euro-Asian centrism, white supremacy, and racial discrimination is one of the greatest psychological challenges facing the Black people of North America, the Caribbean, and South America today. When one is miseducated and misinformed, I have a book for that too, guys. Hold up. You're so far. I actually have two. Because this one's Carter G. Woodson. This one is Na'im Akbar. Na'im Akbar, so good. So good. But he often quotes Carter G. Woodson in The Miseducation of a Negro. I was about to open that book and start reading from it. Do you see how easy it is for me to get sidetracked? Because that's the thing. It's all connected, bro. It's all connected. And once you see the parallels, you're like, oh shit, I kind of gotta wake up. Yes. But okay. To when one is miseducated and misinformed by an educational system which teaches lies as so-called true history, relegating our ancestors in Africa and throughout the African diaspora of the Americas to a position of insignificance, if not totally invisible. Think about that. You know how cállate la boca, pero un libro de okay. This book talks about At the Dark End of the Street, Black Women, Rape, and Resistance, a new history of the civil rights movement from Rosa Parks to the rise of Black power. You know how we learn about Rosa Parks? Oh, she was tired. She was old. She was this. No, homie. She was a militant race woman, and she had been organizing for years. Like, homegirl, no, ma'am. She wasn't tired, nor was she old, nor was she all just, she was like, You know what I mean? Or like, you know how like, Black elders, they'll be like, that's how I imagine her. But the way that they the way that white supremacy whitewashes and or erases that history is what, you know what I mean? Like, we think, like, the way that we learn about her, and so many, and we don't even talk about all the other Black women like Fannie Lou Hamer. And think about the ways in which colorism plays into that. Like, Claudette Colvin was a dark-skinned young Black woman. I think she was 15 when she first sat down on a bus that she wasn't supposed to. But we don't learn about her. We learn about, oh, this old, tired old lady, Rosa Parks. She was just tired. That's it. No. Anyways, I have books for a lot of different topics. Yes. But that's the thing. It's like when you sit and read a book, you're kind of like in that history. When you get like immersed in that, it's so good. If not invisible, it unquestionably becomes more challenging for us to consciously, confidently, and unashamedly claim and assert our Africanity in the face of such fabricated Eurocentric white supremacist constructions of the world history and the evolution of human civilization throughout time. And furthermore, to make this challenge that much more difficult for us has been the negative and false media imagery about Africa, i.e. Haiti, i.e. Haitian immigrants. Think about that right now. Think about it. The way that racism plays into that. And about Black people in general, as intellectually and culturally backwards, primitive, and underdeveloped. But, like it or not, whether we consciously acknowledge it or not, African is who and what we are. Our late great historian, Professor John Henrik Clark, told us on numerous occasions that when the European slave ships made the infamous Atlantic crossing, middle passage, I have a book for that too. It's called Middle Passage. I haven't read this one. I stole it from I didn't steal it. I borrowed it from my grandfather. But it's like, girl. I have not read it yet. But We'll come back to it. It looks so good. And here's the author on the back. Do you see his little... Look how handsome. Per Mr. Charles Johnson. Per... Okay, sorry. And, okay, sorry. Okay. Made the infamous Atlantic crossing / Middle Passage and docked along the eastern shores of South and North America. They brought no Brazilians, no Haitians or Dominicans, no Jamaicans or Trinidadians. Nor did they bring any Afro-Cubans, but Bohemians. Yeah, sorry, I was like, huh? For a second. Or Puerto Ricans. Look, I'm practicing rolling my R's. Okay. Wait, but I'm not good at it at the beginning. Puerto Ricans, nor any colored, Negro, or Afro, Black, African Americans. No, their human cargoes consisted only of African people. We Africans in America entered the American experience, or what really and truly was a nightmare for our ancestors. And what we naturally were and are as Africans, whose wretched conditions... Where's Wretched of the Earth? Do I have that book? I don't have that book yet. I will get it. Where do you go? Wretched condition was that of enslavement. These other labels and names that we now use, sometimes prefixed with Afro this and African that, as well as various other societal and ethnic names, were all acquired or forced upon us since we arrived on these shores in chains. No amount of raw, savage violence, brutality, and degradation that was heaped upon our ancestors for nearly 3 centuries could change who and what they were. They were Africans. Nor could our forced psychological victimization... Where's that book again? To the Eurocentric white supremacy... Nor could our forced psychological victimization to the Eurocentric white supremacy-based American social reality, which forced us to internalize our conscious identification with European American culture, change the biological and deep-rooted cultural reality of who we still are, Africans. Thus, our great Black grandparents here in America were simply enslaved Africans. That's only 3 greats, y'all, who were forced to adopt, at a conscious level, a pseudo-European American identity by being forced to speak European languages, use European names, celebrate European cultural heroes, holidays, and holy days, practice European religions and other cultural rituals. We have simply become, as a result of the psychological oppression process, Africans who consciously identify with European American culture, but at the biological and deep cultural levels, we remain African through and through. Speak it, Kobi. That was funny to me. Okay, the great challenge then is to get us to consciously acknowledge and accept who and what we naturally are, Africans in America. At the unconscious level, we display our Africanness every day in our lives in America, despite all of the attempts made by this Eurocentric society to dissuade us and suppress our Africanness deep within us, never to manifest itself in any overt ways. For example, our fervent practice of annual and biannual family reunions is fundamentally African, as opposed to being an acquisition from our forced identification with European American culture. Our basic sense of unconditional love, justice, and fairness towards others, even those who transgress against us, are fundamentally African traits, as well as our fervent belief in God and our acknowledgement of a spiritual reality in our lives, our great love for our children, our deep reverence for our elderly, our great affinity for social affiliation and social validation, and our great propensity for musical expression in all aspects of our lives. These are all fundamentally African traits that our forebearers / ancestors brought with them across the Atlantic in the Middle Passage and passed on through succeeding generations. Excuse me, sorry, I apologize. It is only due to the fact of our different personal histories and individual circumstances of white supremacy / Eurocentric exposure and experiences that the expression of these basic African traits may be more suppressed in some of us than in others. But make no mistake about it, every one of us as Black people possess these African traits deep down within us and often express them on an unconscious level. We must break free from our psychological incarceration to the all-pervasive institutionalized Eurocentric / Euro-Asian-centric reality that has imprisoned us since the plantation era of our painful history in America. How do we accomplish this psychological liberation? We can only accomplish this by beginning to restore what the Europeanizing American experience has taken away from us. We don't have to rush into it, but we must begin the systematic process of restoring our psychological and spiritual wholeness as African people. First, we must reclaim our right to define our reality for ourselves. Our reality must center around our true African world history. As a vital part of this initial step is restoring / reclaiming / reasserting our right to truly educate ourselves. We need to seriously consider reactivating the 1960s fervor. I have something to say about that, but I won't. But I will. The Harlem Renaissance was like 1917 to 1930 / 40s, and then that was like a cultural renaissance in a sense. The new Negro movement, you got Charles Chesnut up in there, you got some Zora Neale Hurston up in there. You have so many people within that era, and then when you see it again happening during the 60s, the Black is beautiful, and the redefinition of Blackness, and what the Black Power was like an international movement, and what that meant. Girl, I have a good book for that. Pan-Africanism and the African Diaspora by Ronald Walters, but I have another book on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. But if I do, I'll I'm gonna say it. So, oh, I was like, who's outside? Okay. Reactivating the 1960s fervor by creating independent African-centered schools like freedom schools, educational programs, and study groups, either as alternatives to the existing Eurocentric schooling / miseducation that we currently receive, or as supplemental to it through after-school and weekend re-education activities where our true Black history is taught and studied. Second, we must deliberately and systematically begin to expunge all vestiges of Eurocentrism and white supremacy reality from our lives, from our psychological and behavioral expressions, starting with our personal physical self-preservation, i.e. how we physically and psychologically behaviorally present ourselves to the world. Naturally, we as a people are at different levels of readiness to begin this psychological transformation process. We as individuals should therefore begin it at a place where we are most comfortable. The only immediacy in this action is that we all should / must begin the liberation process. Think about that. Even Du Bois talks about revolution is within. I will go off on another tangent. Not really. The matter of greatest importance is that instead of our facing today this is from chapter 9, a stable world moving at a uniform rate of progress towards well-defined goals, we are facing revolution. I trust you will not be as scared by this word as you were Thursday. Du Bois is referring to the audience's reaction to Dr. whoever. I don't care. I'm kidding. Anyways, I'm not discussing a coming revolution. I'm trying to impress the fact upon you that you are already in the midst of a revolution. You are already in the midst of war. That you have been, that there has been no war of modern times that has not taken a great sacrifice of human life and human spirits as the extraordinary period through which we are passing today. Some people envisage, I think envision, I think that's what, okay. Revolution chiefly as a matter of blood and guns and a more visible methods of force. But that, after all, is merely the temporary and outward manifestation. Real revolution is within. That comes before and after the explosion, is a matter of long suffering and deprivation, the death of courage and the bitter triumph of despair. This is the inevitable prelude to decisive and enormous change, and that is the thing that is on us now. We are not called upon then to discuss whether we want a revolution or not. We've got it. Our problem is how we're coming out of it. And this is like the, okay, yeah. Let me put that back down. The only immediacy in this action is that we all should/must begin the liberation process. Exclamation point. But where we begin will be determined by our individual levels of developmental readiness and our psychological comfortability. Our brave and courageous ancestors who suffered and survived the Mafa of our enslavement deserve that we, their descendants, unashamedly and uncompromisingly reclaim and reassert our right to be African right here in the midst of Eurocentric white supremacy America. Their endurance of such unprecedented, wretched suffering and their demonstration of such tenacious survival resilience has bound us, we contemporary Africans in America, to this sacred covenant with our ancestors. Therefore, our ancestors, as well as the mental health of the next generation of our race, because think about the psychological damage that racism does to your mental, just to your mental. Like, don't even think about the physical, the soulful, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about like mentally how bad that shit gets. Anyways. Okay, therefore, our ancestors, as well as the mental health of the next generation of our race, need for us to forthrightly take up this noble challenge of consciously and uncompromisingly reclaiming and reasserting our Africanity wherever we happen to be located in the Western Hemisphere. For, in reality, to be African is not a choice that we have to make. It is simply who and what we are. The true challenge, then, is to be ourselves, our beautiful African selves. Okay. How much time we're at? 17 minutes? Let's do a 2-for-1. To be an African elder. Wait, should I? I'll pause and then I'll make another video. Okay.